Welcome everybody to the live on this Friday. We got a 3-day weekend. There's a lot going on with the government, everything that's going on, but we're live. We're a little bit late on the live, but welcome everybody to the live. We're starting at 5:11 on the East Coast. If anybody's on the live, say something. Say, hey, how you doing? What's up? Anything that you want to tell me, and just remember, like this. If you're on YouTube, like the video, share the video. If you're on LinkedIn, comment, share it, get it to the people that needs to get to. So in this live, we're gonna go into more of how to get into risk management, how to become an ISO, how do you get into this career with no experience. So we're gonna do this whole live, just kind of breaking that down. If you have any questions, concerns, anything, just make sure you say something. And I'll go through it and I'll pause as we're going through. I'm trying to let it warm up a little bit. We are starting a little bit late, but we're going to go into it. So I'm about to pull the PowerPoint up and we're going to go through how to get into risk management, ISO, and with no experience. So for everybody, here it is. This is a slide. How to become an ISO with no experience. A lot in this government space right now, getting into compliance, getting into RMF, getting into risk management, it can be extremely hard. It can be extremely hard because doing it is getting into it. People don't understand what documentation goes to what are you supposed to do in the federal space, what you're supposed to know. So in this live, we're going to kind of break down what you need to do, how to get into the RMF space, how to become an ISO, how to get into the space with no experience. So we're going to go straight into it. And if you're live, make sure you say something. Give me a thumbs up, a like, a comment. If you're live, just say something to me. I know it's a little bit delayed, but make sure you say something to make sure I know this is getting to the right information. So the main thing is how to become an ISO. For me, I've been working as an information system security officer. I've been in the RMF space for about 5 years. When I got into the space, I was a program manager, a project manager. That's the job I kind of did. So when I did that role, I know how to deal with people. I work with all types of people, and that's how I got into the space of getting into the federal space. I had a clearance, so that's what I did. I was a project manager. That's how I started. That's how it is. So the mission that I have is to kind of bridge the gap between IT and compliance, so you can get a good role, a high-paying role in the government contracting space. ISO is a lot of ISOs, and that's one of the things I do. Working into the government space, I've been doing it for 5 years. A lot of the ISOs are not trained properly. When I go into different systems, looking at their documentation, POA&Ms, testing controls, I notice a lot of it is not done right. So that's kind of the reason why I do what I do. Okay, so I kind of went into it a little bit. ISOs are always going to be in demand, especially in the federal space. The reason why is there's so many systems. You got government-owned systems. You got systems that are third party that's trying to get in there and try to get there. But the way you become compliant in the government space is you have to kind of go through the RMF framework. So the federal space is monitoring the systems and security compliances to get into the space. And this is where ISOs are there to kind of maintain the ATOs and keep it alive. Again, there's thousands of ISOs across the country. So the space is always going to be there, especially if you have a clearance. And then the pay can be between just becoming an ISO. I've seen starting off at 70. I've seen people make 145. So depending on your clearance and experience, you can do really well inside this space. So that's kind of why I do what I do, to kind of educate people in the compliance space, even though it can't be, it's not as glamorized as being DevOps or a hacker, but there's some people that just want to do documentation. Some people that just want to maintain the system. So that's kind of what I do. Does anybody have any questions off that? Remember to like the video, share the video, and if you're there, say something. So what is an ISO? An ISO is an information system security officer. For those that's not in the government space, they're the person responsible for ensuring that any systems that's coming inside the government, whether it can be an open AI, it can be a lot of these companies that's coming into the space, make sure it follows the federal NIST DOD guidelines. So that's kind of what it does. Through that process, It started with FISMA. RMF is kind of what follows FISMA, make sure everything is in place. You have to maintain documentations. You have to maintain and get an ATO package, POA&Ms, testing controls, STIGs, packages. That's kind of everything you do to prepare for this space. So no matter what, that's kind of what you're doing as an ISO. You're maintaining government systems and make sure they're compliant, because there's a lot of people that's trying to attack these systems. So your job is to make sure they're secure. So that's the whole point of doing the job. So that's the main thing you're doing as an ISO. Is the ISO right for you? So being an ISO, it can be different for different people. Sometimes it's good for you, sometimes it's not. The reason why I would say being an ISO, you have to be detail oriented. You got to be very organized. You got to deal with different people. You got to adapt to rules, changes. You got to adapt to a lot of people and manage to talk to. It's not a well-liked position because people want to get things done, and they can't get it done if somebody's stopping them. So that's kind of what you're doing. So if you're not a person that don't like controversial things, if you don't like talking directly to people, maybe this role's not for you. But if you're a person that likes documentation, talking to people, messaging people, keeping everything in a loop, hey, this is a position for you, and I think you should get into it. So that's kind of what it is. For an ISO in the federal space, and it can be called different positions. It can be called ISO, cyber engineer. Sometimes a network, it's something not a network, a cloud engineer. Sometimes they call ISOs that. It can be called different names. But when you're working as this position, you're going to probably need a public trust, a secret, top secret, any type of clearance that's in the federal space. So that's why I always tell people that's trying to get in this role, if you already have that, if you got your security plus, you can kind of get into the role. So that's kind of the things that you need. If anybody any questions, let me know. Say something. Like the video. Keep it pushing. So when you kind of thinking about becoming an ISO, a lot of people think, hey, I'm in the government space. I'm a project manager. I'm just a network engineer. I'm a QA tester. I'm customer service. But as a person that used to be a project manager, that's what I used to do also. I used to do the same thing. I have to, as a project manager, I just thought I couldn't get in the role, but a lot of these skills translate. Like, for example, project manager, you can manage timelines, documentation, updates. That's all you're doing as a project manager. And that transitions over to ISO because you're managing POA&Ms. You're managing POA&Ms, you're managing timelines, you're managing documentation. That's literally doing as a project manager. Say for the people that's on the chat, that's a network engineer or IT support. Understand boundary architecture. As an ISO, you're going to be dealing with boundaries and architecture. That's one of the things you're going to be doing. So make sure that you know that your skills transition over. So also with QA tester, review controls, verify compliance. As a QA tester, you're already doing that as a job. So a lot of that stuff transitions over. So they got to keep that in mind. For customer service, people that's just in customer service, that's in the government space, communicating, talking to people. When you if you become an ISO, literally the same thing, communicating to stakeholders, talking to them, building up rapport, creating Excel sheet, things like that. No matter what, you're going to be doing it as an ISO. So you have the skills. If you got a clearance, you got a security plus, you can do this role. Risk management, you can do this role. So we got a message, Donovan Weston. He said, thanks for this. No problem. Just make sure you give me a like, share the video, and help it out. Yeah, so Arnold Martinez says documentation led by tech expertise, not by title. Yeah, you have to have, when you're working as an ISO, you have to have some tech expertise to write documentation. I read a lot of documentation in the space, and a lot of it is dictated by NIST 853 controls to make sure you're implementing those things. So when you're working as an ISO, you can reach out to certain people to understand what's going on with it, but you got to have some type of technical knowledge to understand what's going on, which you can always get. So as an ISO, you're always going to be talking to people to get the information. So I hear what you're saying. Yeah. So and if you're on the chat, make sure you like the video. You're on YouTube, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're checking it out. And if you have any questions occurring, put it in the chat. So the main things you're going to need as an ISO, straight up, you're going to need understand different documentations and how they relate to doing the job. A lot of people don't understand how it relates. For example, the NIST 837, that kind of breaks down the entire RMF process itself. You can read that, breaks down the 7 steps, everything. So you can read that. NIST 853, control families that you assess. That's what a lot of the documentation is based off of to implement these controls. So that's another documentation that you probably need to pay attention to. You got STIGs, you got FedRAMP compliance, overlays, and then also you got to follow the 7 steps of RMF. In general, you got the prepare phase, categorize phase, select phase, implement, assess, authorize, monitor. You got to make sure you know what those mean, because a lot of the people get on an interview and they'll tell you straight up, oh yeah, I did all 7 steps of the RMF process. For a lot of people, they don't do 7 steps of the RMF process. You never do the 7. Some people never do that. Most of the time, you're probably going to be doing implement, assess, authorize, and monitor. So just keep that in mind. And when you're doing the space, because most people, they just talk about that, but you need to make sure you know how everything clicks together when you're working in the space. If anybody's there, make sure you're saying something. Say hi, share the video. Just make sure you're saying something if you're checking it out. Okay, the daily life of an ISO. So the daily life of an ISO, you're going to be in a lot of meetings. That's straight up. You're going to be in a lot of meetings. You're going to be in meetings to make sure you're continuously monitoring no matter what. You're going to be continuously monitoring a system. A lot of it is going to be creating SSPs, documentation, POA&Ms. You're going to be doing a lot of that as an ISO also. You participate in testing controls, security controls. You're also going to be reviewing a lot of ACAS scans, STIGs, results, and engineers. You're going to be talking to them a lot. That's one of the things of being an ISO. You're going to be attending a lot of A&A meetings with the SCA, PMO, track findings through remediation and closure. That's kind of everything you're going to be doing as an ISO. And I know this stuff can sound foreign to some people, but that's kind of like the day-to-day of being an ISO. So people that's trying to get into the GRC or RMF space, that's kind of what you're doing in both realms, And if you're liking the video, make sure you say something. Hey, how you doing? Where you at? Where you from? Comment down, comment, let me know where you at and like the video. Okay, so when you're getting training and certifications, you have 2 ways to go about it. You can either go on YouTube, look up what ISO's RMF does. You're not going to find a lot of information because a lot of people don't know what the position is, or they just focus on certain aspects. You can either read the documentation. You can probably read the NIST 837, NIST 153, but a lot of times it's just going to be words. Sometimes what you can do, you can just chat GPT it. What is an ISO? What do they do? But it's not going to be a lot of the real experience of what you do. So you have other options. You can go on RMF Academy. Check out RMF Academy, shameless plug. You can go to NIST.gov, check out STIGs, STIG Viewer, and also certifications. When you're getting this space, you need a Security Plus is the bare minimum to get this job. So just keep that in mind for anybody that's trying to get in the space. Those are some of the ways you can get training to do it, to understand what the job is. Yeah, so you can tie everything together. Okay, so when you're getting a role in this role, you're also going to need a resume. You're going to need something that's ATS formatted. You got to make sure you include things like POA&Ms, things like that. ATOs, NIST, highlight transversal skills, compliance, and mention the clearance eligibility. And you got to kind of talk about things that you have done. My resume has all of that. If you're going to get a role in this space, you got to kind of show what you can do. So if you don't know what you can do, it's going to be hard for somebody to take you up, because when you're doing this role, it can be kind of it can be hard even for people that's already in the field. Okay, so I'm gonna read some of the comments. You got Nate Dog, love what you're doing, brother. Keep it up. No problem, brother. We got hi, I'm from Texas. Thank you for the stream. I'm interested in GRC and I'm currently a program manager, so this is great. I'm going to start studying for the Security Plus room. That's what's up, brother. So we got Nate Butler, ATS. It's the formatting for, it's kind of a way you're supposed to format resumes. If I said it wrong, that's what it is. But that's kind of where you, because your resume is going through a bot, so you got to make sure everything is in that format so it can pick up on your resume. You said tuned in from Los Angeles area. Oh, that's what's up. Keep doing what you're doing. Test pilot school, Space Force. Shout out to Space Force. Okay. So yeah, everybody just keep coming in, keep on with the comments. So that's what you're gonna do to build a resume to get in this space. And with RMF Academy, we definitely take care of resumes when you first register. So that's the main thing. So when you're getting an ISO job, you got to prepare for interviews. They ask you a lot of questions. What is a POA&M? How many steps of the RMF? What is the 7 steps of RMF? What is EMAS? What are these things? They're going to ask you these things when you're trying to get a job. I know because I've been through interviews, many interviews, and I've talked to program managers, people that's hiring managers. That's what they ask for. The main thing, either you got to know what the stuff is, or you got to kind of, as long as you've been working on yourself, you got a good understanding, you want to learn, they'll take you on. But you got to kind of show some effort that you can understand what it is. Means you got to do research. You got to understand what this stuff is. And again, with the RMF compliance, it ties into a lot of the GRC stuff in the private sector. So that's kind of how you get into space, you know. So you got to make sure you prepare for interviews too, you know, and just kind of break down what would you do if a manager told you to do, if a manager told you to do something, but you already was doing something, what would you do? It's different in the federal space, so you got to make sure you can handle that, because in the federal space, the customer's always right. Anybody got any questions on that? Like the video, share the video, and comment. Said Nate Butler, can you break these roles from another career industry like healthcare? I'm not in that space. I'm primarily in the government space, so I can't speak to it so much, but definitely check out the videos I made with other people that's in those spaces, and they can kind of guide you to where you need to go. So where to apply for jobs? When you're applying for jobs, you can apply for jobs at USA.gov. A lot of the times you can go on USA.gov. It's a federal place. A lot of people forget about that. You can literally apply to become a federal worker. You can apply for clearancejobs.com, LinkedIn referrals. You can go on LinkedIn, and just so there's a lot of contracted companies that hire for this position. You got Booz Allen, SIAC, Leidos, Khaki, GDIT, Accenture. You got a lot of companies that are trying to apply for these roles. So, you know, so make sure you check those companies out when applying for these roles, because that's the best way to become and get in the risk management phase. That's the best way to get into space, period. So to get into that, and risk management for the federal space, to let everybody know. Landing and succeeding. So when you want to get into this role, you got to make sure you learn the system. I always tell people, when you get into the job, learn the system. The second thing is make sure you meet with all the engineers, understand the tickets. Last thing, POA&Ms, SSP, and then you then over time, when you do the role, it can take 6 months to a year or years to understand this role. You climb the ladder. You go from ISO to senior ISO to SM to program manager, or you can go to ISO to SM to SCA, into AO if you can make it to that career. That's a big role to get to, but yeah, it can take some years, but that's kind of like the career ladder. So there's always room to grow, and then you can become a cloud engineer at some point once you learn the FedRAMP compliance. So that's kind of the things you can do when you do this role, you know. Yeah, Arnold Martinez, he said applicant, yeah, that's what it's called, applicant tracking system. That's exactly what it's called. Thank you. Yeah, so did anybody have any questions on that? Okay. So for RMF Academy, that's what we kind of do. Everything we talked about that you're trying to get into the risk management framework space, that's kind of the things that we do, you know. So just check out all the stories of people that have done the classes, that's done the training. Everything you're trying to learn will be in the class. So make sure you check it out also. And these all of the reviews, everybody that took it out. There's some good reviews. I mean, I teach everything that you need to know to do the job, and nobody can attest to that. And also we help with resume help to get the jobs. Okay, so basically I'm going to tell everybody if you want to join RMF Academy, we have a special going on. You go on rmfacademy.io, get the pre-order before the week of. It'll be cheaper. But again, we go on hands-on experience. We talk about POA&Ms, testing controls. We go through STIGs, documentation. We go through everything you need to know how to be an ISO. And then also too, when you get into the space, once you register for the training, you automatically, I'm going to just put you in process to get your resume redone. You get a public sector resume, you get a private sector resume for GRC or RMF. So make sure you check it out because that's a good deal to get your resume done. Resumes are the most important thing. Also, I also teach you in the class how to actually network with LinkedIn, build your socials up, and how to get a job through connections. So I can't guarantee, but I can tell you everything you need to get the job, get in the place you need to do, and do what you need to do to get into the RMF space. Okay. So does anybody have any other questions, concerns? They want to, before I head out, anybody have any questions? I'm gonna wait on for a little bit. Anybody have any questions in the RMF space? Any questions or concerns? Okay, if anybody don't have any questions, I'm definitely going to do little trainings every now and then on LinkedIn to kind of slowly break things down that's in the RMF space. So just make sure you follow me if you're on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, and make sure you connect with me. Or if you have any questions, hit me up in the DMs for me to break it down. But make sure you check out rmfacademy.io. It's the best place to go to get the training. Make sure you get the pre-order, and then make sure you get the pre-order. And before it gets to the week of, because it's going to go higher. So thank you, everybody. What's up, brother? Is that Davon? What's up, Davon? How you doing, brother? All right. Peace out, everybody. See you on the next one.